Good energy. This video is based on key insights from the book Good Energy by Casey Means. Introduction. Casey Means begins her journey by sharing a deeply personal story about her mother's health struggles and tragic end. Her mother, despite appearing healthy on the outside, was experiencing various symptoms like weight gain, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and prediabetes, all signs of what Casey terms bad energy. This condition, she explains, is a result of metabolic dysfunction, cells not producing energy correctly due to modern lifestyle factors. Metabolism, as Casey explains, is the body's system for turning food into energy used by every cell. When this process works well, we don't think about it, it just happens naturally. However, when metabolic processes are disrupted, say, due to a diet high in sugar, lack of physical activity, poor sleep, stress, or exposure to synthetic chemicals, cells can't produce energy properly. This leads to what Casey calls bad energy, causing all sorts of health issues. Casey points out that these conditions aren't random. They're all connected to how our cells produce and use energy. For example, inflamed ovarian cells might lead to polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, while inflamed blood vessel linings can cause erectile dysfunction or heart disease due to poor blood flow. In the brain, inflammation could result in depression or migraines. She argues that our ancestors' environments over thousands of years shaped these metabolic processes. But modern life, with its abundance of sugar, sedentary jobs, and exposure to synthetic chemicals, has created a mismatch. Our cells are no longer functioning optimally because they're not adapted to these new conditions. This mismatch leads to cellular dysfunction, showing up as chronic diseases we see today. Casey highlights that our bodies give us clues about brewing metabolic issues: increased waist size, poor cholesterol levels, high fasting glucose, and elevated blood pressure. Most Americans have at least one of these red flags. Despite appearing healthy externally, her mother was experiencing bad energy due to these signs. Casey's personal evolution as a doctor is intertwined with this narrative. She initially believed in the modern healthcare system and rose through its ranks, specializing in ENT surgery. However, encounters like Sophia, a patient suffering from recurring sinus infections linked to broader health issues, made her question the effectiveness of such treatments. She realized that surgeries only address symptoms without curing underlying causes. This realization led Casey to leave her residency prematurely and embark on a quest to understand why people were getting sick and how to help them regain their health naturally. Her journey would culminate in a book, offering insights into the connection between metabolism and health and practical strategies to improve it. Chapter 1: Siloed Health versus Energy-Centric Health. Casey Means, a medical professional, delves into the intricate relationship between metabolism and health. She begins by recounting her journey from a specialized ENT surgeon to a holistic practitioner, driven by her observations of patients like Sarah, who suffered from multiple chronic conditions despite conventional treatments. Casey realized that these chronic illnesses often stemmed from persistent inflammation within the body, which she traced back to malfunctioning cells. These cells, lacking sufficient energy, send distress signals triggering an immune response, leading to widespread symptoms and conditions. The root cause, she discovered, was poor cellular energy production due to environmental factors, a phenomenon she calls bad energy. To understand this better, Casey explains the critical role of mitochondria, the powerhouses of cells, in converting food into energy. When these tiny organelles function optimally, cells can carry out their numerous tasks, resulting in overall body health. However, when hindered by poor diet, lack of exercise, stress, and exposure to environmental toxins, mitochondria struggle, leading to cellular dysfunction and inflammation. 10 key factors contribute to this bad energy, including overnutrition, nutrient deficiencies, microbiome imbalances, sedentary lifestyles, chronic stress, certain medications, sleep deprivation, environmental toxins, artificial light exposure, and thermoneutral environments. For instance, Casey notes how excess consumption of ultra-processed foods rich in fructose overwork cells, causing energy production to slow down. Similarly, a deficiency in essential micronutrients like coenzyme Q10 hampers the electron transport chain's function, reducing ATP synthesis. An imbalanced gut microbiome fails to produce crucial postbiotic chemicals that protect and support mitochondria. Casey further explains how this cellular energy problem leads to insulin resistance. In healthy conditions, cells use insulin to absorb glucose from the bloodstream for energy. But when cells are filled with toxic fats due to impaired mitochondrial function, they can't efficiently absorb glucose, leading to high blood sugar levels, the hallmark of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. She highlights that many people today, over 74% of U.S. adults, face these metabolic issues due to factors like high-sugar diets, stressful lifestyles, and sedentary habits. These elements collectively overburden mitochondria, causing dysfunction, chronic inflammation, and oxidative stress, the trio at the heart of most modern diseases. Casey emphasizes that recognizing these cellular malfunctions is crucial. Simple health markers like blood sugar, triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, blood pressure, and waist circumference can signal whether our cells are producing energy effectively. If these metrics fall outside optimal ranges, it suggests metabolic dysfunction that could lead to various diseases if left unaddressed. Her narrative underscores how understanding this connection between metabolism and health empowers individuals to take control of their well-being, preventing or reversing conditions like diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and others, commonly misconstrued as separate entities. By grasping the science behind energy production in our bodies and responding with appropriate diet and lifestyle adjustments, anyone can enhance their vitality, cognition, and overall health, breaking free from the norm of chronic fatigue and illness in the modern world. Chapter 2: Bad Energy is the Root of Disease. Casey Means, a medical doctor and founder of Levels Health, presents an insightful exploration of the profound connection between metabolism and health. She introduces Lucy, a woman in her mid-30s grappling with a multitude of seemingly unrelated health issues: acne, bloating after meals, low mood, insomnia, and infertility. Despite her young age and lack of apparent critical diseases, Lucy felt far from healthy. Means explains that these symptoms are not isolated incidents, but often branches of the same tree with a common root cause: cellular dysfunction leading to bad energy. This concept emphasizes how metabolic abnormalities can manifest in various ways, contributing to chronic conditions over time. Means shares her personal journey and that of her mother to illustrate this point. Her mother, following typical nutritional advice of the 1980s, gave birth to Means with macrosomia, large baby syndrome. This condition is linked to increased risks of future metabolic problems, such as type 2 diabetes and obesity, due to factors like insulin resistance, elevated fat cell numbers and sizes, and inflammation. Means' own health struggles began during surgical residency. Despite her initial robust health, she faced irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, acne, depression, chronic pain, sinus infections, migraines, hearing loss, and eventually infertility, all traceable back to poor cellular function or bad energy. IBS, for instance, is associated with reduced mitochondrial activity and energy production within gut cells. Acne, another issue Means faced, correlates with high insulin levels, which stimulate the production of skin oil. Depression, too, has metabolic roots. The brain, being highly sensitive to oxidative stress and inflammation, can malfunction due to poor mitochondrial function, leading to altered neurotransmitter signaling that regulates mood and behavior. Means also highlights how chronic pain may stem from cellular dysfunction, affecting nerve damage and sensitization. Sinus infections and migraines are linked to poor metabolic health, with higher blood sugar levels increasing the risk of sinusitis and insulin resistance associated with migraine onset. Hearing loss, too, is connected to insulin resistance, impacting energy production in delicate hearing cells. Autoimmune conditions like Sjogren's syndrome and Hashimoto's thyroiditis also show metabolic links, with individuals suffering from these diseases having higher rates of insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome. Even infertility, particularly polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, the leading cause of female infertility, is tied to metabolic health. High insulin levels stimulate testosterone production, disrupting hormonal balance necessary for fertility. Casey Means underscores that these seemingly unrelated symptoms and conditions are often manifestations of the same underlying cellular issues. By addressing metabolism and energy production at a cellular level, one can significantly improve overall health, prevent chronic diseases, and enhance quality of life. Her narrative emphasizes the urgency to rethink our approach to healthcare, focusing on prevention rather than reactionary treatment. Chapter 3: Trust Yourself, Not Your Doctor. Casey Means, a medical professional with unique insights into the healthcare system, shares her experiences and thoughts on the connection between metabolism and overall health. She recounts a pivotal period in her life when she questioned the advice of top doctors regarding her mother's stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors suggested several invasive procedures with uncertain benefits and potential risks, including prolonged hospital stays and separation from loved ones due to COVID-19 protocols. Means explains that these medical recommendations often stem from financial incentives rather than the patient's best interests. Hospitals and healthcare providers profit more when patients undergo extensive treatments and surgeries, which can lead to over-medicalization of conditions, especially chronic ones. She discusses how the modern medical system prioritizes acute issues, such as emergency surgeries or infections, where quick cures bring immediate financial gains. However, for chronic diseases like diabetes or heart disease, the system tends to offer treatments that manage symptoms rather than addressing underlying causes. These treatments often involve prescription drugs and procedures, which can lead to ongoing revenue streams but may not improve patients' long-term health. Means highlights how medical education has been influenced by pharmaceutical companies since the early 1900s. This influence resulted in a curriculum that emphasizes aggressive interventions and stigmatizes natural, holistic remedies. As a consequence, doctors are indoctrinated to prioritize profitable procedures over preventive care or lifestyle changes that could genuinely help patients heal and prevent diseases. She further points out how conflicts of interest affect medical recommendations. For instance, pain management committees may include members with ties to opioid manufacturers, leading to lenient guidelines contributing to the opioid crisis. Similarly, National Institutes of Health, NIH, grants often go to researchers with financial connections to pharmaceutical companies. Means argues that while acute medical issues should be treated by experts, chronic diseases require skepticism from patients. They need to question the system and understand its incentives, as it often prioritizes profit over well-being. She asserts that the medical community's silence on major factors contributing to metabolic disorders, like unhealthy diets and sedentary lifestyles, is problematic. The author explains how food and lifestyle habits play a significant role in metabolism, affecting overall health. Despite knowing this, medical leaders remain silent about essential changes that could improve public health. They don't advocate for reducing sugar consumption among children or call out industries, promoting unhealthy diets and products targeting kids. Means emphasizes that patients must take control of their metabolic health by focusing on good energy habits, which include proper nutrition and lifestyle choices. She believes these principles can help prevent and reverse chronic diseases, ultimately leading to better health outcomes. In summary, Casey Means argues for patient empowerment in understanding metabolism's role in health. She underscores the importance of questioning medical advice, recognizing the system's financial incentives that often lead to overtreatment and neglect of preventive care. By embracing holistic approaches centered around good energy habits, patients can take charge of their health, potentially reversing trends of chronic diseases driven by poor diet and lifestyle choices. Chapter 4: Your Body Has the Answers. Casey Means, the author, delves into the fascinating connection between metabolism and health in this chapter. She introduces Emily, a pregnant woman who discovered her gestational diabetes through a continuous glucose monitor, CGM, rather than a standard blood test. This highlights how wearables can provide a more comprehensive understanding of our health compared to traditional lab tests. Emily's story underscores the limitations of conventional blood testing, where a single data point might not accurately represent overall metabolic health. For instance, Emily had high glucose levels even hours after consuming a glucose drink, which her standard test didn't reveal. This led to an undiagnosed condition that could have had serious implications for both her and her baby's health. Means emphasizes the importance of understanding our bodies through data. She notes that most people, including expecting mothers, don't get as much insight into their metabolic health as Emily did with her CGM. In fact, patients often struggle to interpret their lab results accurately, leading to misunderstandings about their health status. The author introduces the concept of bioobservability, which refers to the ability to monitor one's biology through technologies like wearables and direct-to-consumer (DTC) lab testing. This trend is revolutionary, empowering individuals to understand and manage their health more effectively than relying solely on doctors' interpretations. Means stresses that symptoms are valuable indicators of our body's needs. Instead of being feared or immediately treated, they should be seen as signs guiding us towards understanding what our bodies require for optimal functioning. For example, neck pain might signal issues with sleep and stress levels, while anxiety could indicate a need for more exercise and reduced alcohol intake. The chapter also explains how to analyze standard blood tests, focusing on 5 key metabolic biomarkers: triglycerides, high-density lipoprotein, HDL, cholesterol, fasting glucose, blood pressure, and waist circumference. Triglyceride levels can indicate if our cells are being overwhelmed with glucose, a sign of excessive sugar or carb intake coupled with insufficient physical activity. HDL cholesterol, often referred to as good cholesterol, helps remove harmful cholesterol from blood vessels, reducing the risk of heart disease and stroke. Fasting glucose levels reflect our blood sugar when we haven't eaten or drunk any calories for 8 hours. High fasting glucose suggests insulin resistance, a condition linked to numerous health issues. Blood pressure measures the force against artery walls as the heart pumps blood, and high blood pressure can lead to various cardiovascular diseases. Lastly, waist circumference serves as an indicator of abdominal fat, a risk factor for metabolic dysfunction. Means advocates for calculating the triglyceride to HDL ratio to better understand insulin sensitivity, as this metric strongly correlates with underlying insulin resistance. She notes that this isn't typically part of standard clinical practice, but is crucial for assessing metabolic health. Beyond these 5 biomarkers, Means suggests 6 additional tests that provide an even broader perspective on one's health: fasting insulin and HOMA-IR to gauge insulin resistance, high-sensitivity CRP, HSCRP, for inflammation, hemoglobin A1C, HbA1c, as another glucose average indicator, uric acid to monitor oxidative stress, liver enzymes to assess liver health, and vitamin D levels to ensure optimal calcium regulation and immune function. The chapter concludes by underscoring the importance of personal responsibility in understanding our bodies. With increasing access to technologies like CGMs and DTC lab tests, individuals can now gain deeper insights into their metabolic health than ever before. This shift towards self-awareness and proactive health management marks a significant departure from traditional doctor-centric healthcare models. Chapter 5: The 6 Principles of Good Energy Eating. Casey Means delves into the intricate connection between metabolism and health, unveiling 6 key principles for good energy eating. These principles illuminate how our dietary choices impact cellular function and overall well-being. Means starts by highlighting the opioid crisis, drawing a parallel with our society's less obvious addiction, ultra-processed foods. This comparison underscores the profound influence of nutrition on health, akin to substance abuse. The author emphasizes that conflicting dietary information often leaves individuals uncertain about their food choices, contributing to widespread confusion. Means then introduces the concept of food empowerment, encouraging a molecular understanding of our sustenance. Just as we can identify harmful components in opioids, we must scrutinize our food's molecular makeup. For instance, she compares different versions of burgers, one from grain-fed cows, another from pasture-raised cattle, and plant-based alternatives. Each option varies significantly in nutrient content, with grass-fed beef offering more anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids and essential vitamins compared to its counterparts. The author underscores that daily food decisions can alter our genetic fate, likening it to building blocks for our bodies. She illustrates this with broccoli, not just a vegetable, but a complex ecosystem of molecular components supporting cellular health. Broccoli's high fiber aids in gut bacteria growth and lining health, while its vitamin C safeguards mitochondria from oxidative stress, and vitamin K reduces mitochondrial dysfunction. Means then elucidates the 6 principles of good energy eating. 1. Food determines cellular structure and microbiome. Our bodies are constructed from food, with cell membranes requiring balanced omega-3 and omega-6 fats for optimal function. Industrial diets, high in omega-6 fats, alter this balance negatively. 2. Eating matches cellular needs with dietary inputs. A nutrient-rich, unprocessed diet aligns with our cells' needs, promoting health. Conversely, ultra-processed foods lack essential nutrients, causing overeating and disease. 3. Food communicates with cells. Food sends messages to our bodies, influencing gene expression and cell function. For example, turmeric combats inflammation, while curcumin suppresses pro-inflammatory genes. 4. Extreme cravings signal mixed dietary messages. Cravings indicate unmet cellular needs or confused signals from our food choices. Clear communication through nutritious food can eliminate cravings. 5. Disregard diet philosophies, focus on unprocessed food. Different diets work because they emphasize whole, unprocessed foods. Whether plant-based or animal-focused, these diets supply cells with necessary nutrients, regulating satiety and preventing overeating. 6. Mindful eating, finding awe in food. Consciously appreciating the miraculous journey of food from sunlight to sustenance fosters healthier choices. Reflecting on our body's evolutionary connection to plants, the role of gut bacteria, and the importance of strong cellular boundaries reinforces this principle. Through these principles, Means advocates for a deep understanding of food's molecular components, promoting unprocessed, nutrient-dense options grown in healthy soil as the cornerstone of good health. She emphasizes that our daily dietary decisions significantly impact our metabolism and overall wellness, urging readers to make conscious, informed choices for optimal, good energy. Chapter 6, Creating a Good Energy Meal. Casey Means, a medical professional with insights into nutrition, discusses the profound impact of diet on metabolism and overall health. She highlights that many food studies are funded by food companies, leading to potentially biased results. For instance, some studies suggest red meat causes heart disease, while others argue it prevents it. Similar discrepancies exist for sugar and various diets like low-carb or low-fat regimens. Means explains that the food industry's influence on research has shaped dietary guidelines, leading to the inclusion of 10% added refined sugar in children's diets despite its harmful effects. A recent study funded by processed food companies ranked cereals like Lucky Charms as healthier than whole foods such as lamb or beef, aiming to impact children's marketing. Means proposes simple guidelines for a healthy diet. This includes consuming organic fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, pasture-raised meats, poultry, dairy products, wild fish, herbs, spices, fermented foods, and filtered water. She advises avoiding processed and ultra-processed foods, especially those with refined sugars, grains, or industrial oils. The author delves into the differences between conventionally grown, organic, and regenerative foods. Conventional farming uses heavy pesticides and monocropping, depleting soil of nutrients and leading to environmental issues like water pollution. Organic farming limits synthetic chemicals, but doesn't guarantee soil health or biodiversity. Regenerative practices, on the other hand, prioritize soil health and biodiversity, enhancing microbial life, water quality, and carbon capture. Means defines processed foods using the NOVA classification system. Unprocessed, minimally processed, fruits, vegetables, processed culinary ingredients, oils, butter, processed foods, packaged meals with oils, salt, or sugar, and ultra-processed foods, industrial frankenfoods. The last category, ultra-processed foods, comprises 60% of adults' calorie intake and drives diseases like obesity and diabetes. They are made from broken-down parts of whole foods combined with synthetic ingredients, causing inflammation and impairing metabolic health. Examples of ultra-processed foods include sweetened juices, energy drinks, flavored coffee creamers, and packaged snacks like cookies or chips. Means suggests buying frozen organic produce in bulk, cooking large batches of beans or lentils, purchasing cheap organic nuts and seeds, and joining a CSA program for affordable, sustainably sourced food. To support good energy, Means emphasizes consuming micronutrients and antioxidants found in various fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. Omega-3 fatty acids are crucial for reducing inflammation, while fiber aids in gut health by feeding beneficial bacteria. Fermented foods like sauerkraut or yogurt promote gut diversity and overall wellness. Protein, especially from lean meats, poultry, fish, dairy, legumes, nuts, and seeds, is essential for muscle synthesis and repair. In contrast, refined sugars, industrial seed and vegetable oils, and refined grains hinder health by causing inflammation, disrupting gut bacteria, and promoting obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. Means advises limiting these ingredients to improve metabolic health. She also shares strategies for stable blood sugar, like avoiding naked carbohydrates, preloading meals with low glycemic foods, eating earlier in the day, practicing time-restricted feeding, and adding fiber to all meals. Regular physical activity, mindful eating, and gratitude also contribute to better metabolic control. In essence, Casey Means underscores the vital role of diet in metabolism and overall health. By choosing whole, unprocessed foods rich in nutrients and avoiding ultra-processed items, individuals can significantly enhance their well-being and mitigate chronic diseases. Chapter 7, Respecting Your Biological Clock. Casey Means, a doctor and author, explains the strong connection between metabolism and health in her chapter titled, Respecting Your Biological Clock. She emphasizes how light, sleep, and meal timing significantly impact our biology, leading to either good energy or bad energy. Throughout her narrative, Means recounts her residency years, filled with long hours, irregular eating, and sporadic sleep. These experiences led her to understand that disrupting the natural schedules of our bodies, or circadian rhythms, can result in measurable brain damage, emotional issues, metabolic problems, and memory deficits. In modern times, humans spend most of their lives indoors, away from the sun's life-giving energy. For millions of years, our biology has been set to an active and feeding mode during daylight and a resting and fasting mode at night. This rhythm, controlled by light exposure and meal times, regulates our genetic expression, hormones, metabolism, and sleep-wake cycles. Means underscores the importance of sunlight in human life. Almost all energy we consume from food originates from photosynthesis in plants, powered by solar energy. Sunlight also produces oxygen, essential for cellular respiration, which generates energy within our bodies. She explains that sunlight serves as an on switch for our biology, controlling when our body should be active or resting. Modern living often prevents us from spending adequate time outdoors in the morning, leading to cellular confusion and health issues. This confusion manifests as fatigue, insomnia, brain fog, sluggishness, and anxiety, symptoms often treated with prescriptions that further disrupt circadian rhythms. Means delves into sleep's crucial role in metabolic health. She highlights that lack of consistent, quality sleep can lead to prediabetes in just 6 days, a condition characterized by insulin resistance, a root cause of numerous chronic diseases. Sleep deprivation increases free radicals and oxidative stress throughout the body, impacting organs like the liver, gut, lungs, muscles, brain, and heart. It also leads to chronic inflammation by altering gene expression and microbiome composition. She emphasizes the vicious cycle of poor sleep leading to metabolic issues and vice versa. Chronic overnutrition, often a result of inadequate sleep, increases hunger and appetite, particularly for high-carbohydrate, calorie-dense foods. This exacerbates the risk of obesity and associated diseases. Means also discusses obstructive sleep apnea, OSA, affecting nearly 1 billion people worldwide. OSA increases risks of metabolic disorders, such as heart disease, diabetes, and obesity, due to its impact on sleep quality and duration. She stresses the importance of recognizing OSA symptoms, daytime sleepiness, snoring, and breathing interruptions during sleep, and seeking treatment, often including weight loss. The chapter underscores how consistency in sleep quantity, quality, and timing is vital for optimal metabolic function. Means suggests aiming for 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep each night, emphasizing that both too little and too much sleep can negatively impact health. She also highlights the significance of a consistent bedtime routine and avoiding artificial light before sleep, as these factors confuse our body's internal clock and disrupt metabolic processes. Finally, Means explores the connection between meal timing and circadian rhythms. Eating during the night phase, when our physiology is primed for rest and fasting, can lead to metabolic problems. She advises front-loading the day with food and stopping eating early in the evening, a practice known as time-restricted feeding, which has shown promise in preventing and treating metabolic disturbances. In summary, Casey Means illustrates how our metabolism is intrinsically linked to our biological rhythms, controlled by factors like sunlight exposure, sleep patterns, and meal times. Disruptions to these natural cycles can result in bad energy conditions like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. By respecting and aligning with our biological clock, we can foster good energy and optimal metabolic health. Chapter 8, Replenishing What Modernity Took Away. Casey Means, in her chapter, Replenishing What Modernity Took Away, delves into the profound connection between metabolism and health. She begins by describing her experience as a medical student, sitting for long hours despite learning about diseases related to sedentary lifestyles like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and hypertension. This contradiction sparked her interest in the impact of prolonged sitting on health. Means discovered that excessive sitting can lead to metabolic and cardiovascular issues. She found support for this in a New York Times article, which described long periods of sitting as lethal. This realization prompted her to create a makeshift standing desk during her lectures, an action that piqued the curiosity of her peers. A subsequent survey revealed that 100% of respondents felt medical school led to too much sitting, and nearly 90% expressed interest in having standing options in classrooms. Emboldened by this feedback, Means conducted research, culminating in a 2-year study funded by a grant and approved by an ethics board. She aimed to prove the benefits of standing desks for medical students' health and well-being. The results were clear. Students reported increased alertness, attention, and engagement during the intervention and expressed a desire for standing options in classrooms. Despite these findings, the Stanford Medical School administration rejected her proposal, citing design guidelines and safety codes in the new Li Ka-shing building. Means' experience mirrors the broader issue in medical education. Young doctors still spend most of their first 2 years sitting, despite this lifestyle increasing their risk for diseases they'll later treat. Up to 73% of physicians are overweight or obese, and the leading causes of death among them are largely preventable, bad energy killers, such as heart disease, cancer, and stroke. Means argues that our obsession with comfort is a significant factor contributing to poor health. Modern life has removed basic elements from historical living, like constant movement and fluctuating temperatures, leading to the rise of industries offering solutions for these deficiencies, like fitness classes, gyms, cold plunges, saunas, and light therapy. We pay for comfort and then buy products to mitigate its negative effects, a perverse cycle she refers to as good energy. Means advocates for viewing controlled discomfort and adaptive stressors as essential biological cues rather than inconveniences. She suggests that our built environments and cultural norms around movement should be critically examined. For instance, sitting at desks all day, having seating areas as home centerpieces, and relying on cars, scooters, escalators, and elevators hinder our natural inclination for regular movement. Historically, humans moved frequently due to necessity, hunting, gathering, and traveling long distances on foot. This constant activity kept metabolic processes optimized. Today, just 1.3% of Americans work in agriculture, leading to sedentary lifestyles. Urban design often prioritizes cars over people, with parking consuming about 1/3 of urban land area. Areas with lower walkability have higher rates of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Means emphasizes that regular low-level physical activity is crucial for metabolic health. Unlike the modern approach of isolated exercise sessions, our bodies thrive when movement is a consistent part of daily life. Muscle contraction, even at low intensities, triggers cellular processes that improve glucose management and mitochondrial function. This is due to the action of AMPK, an energy sensor in cells, which stimulates PGC-1A, enhancing fat burning, glucose uptake, and mitochondria creation for increased ATP production. Muscle contraction also promotes mitophagy, the removal of old, dysfunctional mitochondria to make room for healthier ones. Without this process, poor-quality mitochondria accumulate, producing excessive free radicals, a key aspect of bad energy. Exercise increases antioxidant defenses and reduces inflammation over time. It also improves insulin sensitivity by signaling GLUT4 channels to the cell membrane for glucose uptake without needing insulin, a significant benefit for those with type 2 diabetes. Means recommends frequent, short bouts of movement throughout the day rather than intense workouts. A study showed that brief, frequent movements reduced post-meal glucose spikes more effectively than longer pre- or post-meal jogs. Even walking 30 minutes a day, spread out in shorter intervals, can lower insulin levels and risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, major depression, gastric reflux, and sleep apnea. Despite extensive research on physical activity's benefits, movement is often misunderstood. Means proposes 3 simple rules for improving metabolic health. Walk at least 7,000 steps a day, maintain heart rate above 60% of maximum for 150 minutes weekly, and engage in resistance training multiple times a week. Means also explores the impact of temperature on metabolism. Exposure to extreme temperatures can stimulate beneficial adaptations in cells. Cold exposure activates brown fat, which burns energy to produce heat and has been linked to better blood sugar control. Regular sauna use produces a stress adaptation response similar to exercise, improving cardiac function, reducing blood pressure, and enhancing glucose uptake in muscles. Finally, Means discusses the role of synthetic chemicals and environmental toxins in metabolic dysfunction. Since World War II, over 80,000 synthetic chemicals have been introduced, many without safety testing for adults, children, or fetuses. These chemicals, known as obesogens, interfere with metabolism and contribute to obesity and insulin resistance. Examples include bisphenol A, BPA, phthalates, parabens, triclosan, dioxins, polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, organophosphate pesticides, and heavy metals. These toxins can disrupt hormone function, impair mitochondrial health, and cause oxidative stress and inflammation. Means advocates for minimizing exposure to these toxins by filtering air and water in the home, eating unprocessed organic or regeneratively grown food, reducing plastic use, and switching to non-toxic personal care products with transparent ingredients. She emphasizes that supporting natural detoxification pathways through good energy habits is crucial for health. Chapter 9, Fearlessness. Casey Means, a medical professional turned wellness advocate, delves into the profound connection between metabolism and health in her chapter titled Fearlessness. She explores how constant fear and anxiety can negatively impact our bodies at a cellular level. Means explains that humans have evolved to feel intense emotions like fear for survival purposes, as these feelings prompt action against real threats. However, in the modern world, we are exposed to a deluge of threats, both real and perceived, thanks to technological advancements. This constant bombardment of negative information can lead to chronic stress, causing our cells to divert resources from regular functions towards defense mechanisms. The author highlights that this state of prolonged stress, or what she terms bad energy, can manifest in several ways detrimental to health. These include chronic inflammation triggered by neuroinflammation, inflammation in the brain, oxidative stress, cellular damage from unstable molecules, mitochondrial dysfunction, reduced energy production within cells, high glucose levels, and worsened metabolic biomarkers. Chronic inflammation is sparked by psychological stressors, leading to increased production of inflammatory cytokines. This heightens the risk for diseases like depression and neurodegeneration. Oxidative stress, caused by imbalanced production of reactive oxygen species, damages cells, contributing to conditions such as heart disease and diabetes. Mitochondrial dysfunction, exacerbated by chronic stress, reduces energy production capacity in cells. High glucose levels are another consequence of stress-induced hormonal responses. These responses rapidly mobilize stored glucose from the liver and fat cells, promoting insulin resistance, a key factor in type 2 diabetes development. Lastly, chronic stress often results in poor metabolic health indicators like obesity, low HDL levels, excessive visceral fat, elevated blood pressure, high LDL cholesterol, increased heart rate, heightened insulin levels, and raised triglycerides. Means underscores that traumatic experiences can have long-term effects on stress hormone regulation in our bodies, increasing the risk of metabolic diseases such as obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and metabolic syndrome. She emphasizes that even seemingly minor daily stressors can accumulate and impact health negatively over time. To counter these effects, Means suggests various strategies centered around improving mental health and reducing fear-inducing stimuli. These include forming relationships with therapists or coaches, tracking heart rate variability to gauge stress levels, practicing breathwork and mindfulness meditation to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, spending time in nature for its calming effects, reading inspirational texts that foster positive mindset shifts, trying aromatherapy with relaxing scents like lavender, writing about stressors to process them, practicing self-love. Reducing busyness and embracing JOMO, the joy of missing out. Cultivating community for social support, committing to digital detoxes, and considering psilocybin-assisted therapy for profound personal growth experiences. Through these practices, individuals can create a healthier internal environment that supports optimal cellular function and overall well-being, breaking the cycle of bad energy driven by chronic fear and anxiety. And that brings us to the end of our summary of this book. I hope you found it insightful and valuable. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more. Your support helps us bring you more great content. Thanks for watching.